I'm going to take one question from Lisa. Please make it quick. I will ask you to unmute yourself. Yes, Lisa.
I can't log in.
Okay, you know your login details, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll sort that out now. All right, please mute yourself. I'll mute you now. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope that you had a nice break yesterday, and I hope that you were able to play around with Miss Sora, and you have burning questions to ask about some of the projects that you guys were able to do yesterday. So what we will do, as per our tradition, I am just going to share my screen, and I will introduce myself to everybody else who does not yet know me. One second. Where are we now? Why is this thing? Wow. All of a sudden, I'm a rural guy. Okay, so let's do this. Let me share my screen. I will share this one. All right. So my name is Mr. Afiki Lesikwebu. As you guys have heard yesterday, please don't mind why I'm sharing it like this. It's just decided that it wants to do something else now. So my name is Afiki Lesikwebu. I'm a teacher at Linkside High School. It's a high school in Port Elizabeth, and I teach computer applications technology and digital technologies. And my email address, if there's anything that you need to ask, it is afikile, AFIKILE, at africateamgeeks.co.za. We'll also just include it in the chat for you to find it there. Just as a recap, what we'll do today, we'll do a recap. We'll look at the outcomes for today's lesson. I will take some questions at the end of the lesson, and then you may email your ideas, or if you want to suggest something, some of your ideas, you can email them to me, and we can look for time maybe on Friday where we can code your ideas. So I will choose one idea and we'll go with that on Friday. So you can do that by using my email address. And just as a recap, yesterday we looked at the operator blocks, whereby we tested for a condition that must be met. So if for instance, the answer equals yes, that's what we did yesterday. We said if the answer equals to yes, then the script must ask, do you want to play a game? And we looked at a few loops. We looked at the forever loop. We also, I think on Monday, we used the repeat loop, and we said that a loop is a way of repeating code. You just want to repeat the code, and you don't want to keep clicking on your computer for the code to work. So we use a loop. And we finally looked at variables, and we said a variable is a container, or a variable is a placeholder. And a variable can either be text or it can be a number. And a variable will change according to what you make it out to be at any given time. So that's what we did yesterday. And today we are going to look at broadcasts to send messages in Misora. What we'll do a project where we have two sprites, and they are going to have a conversation. And one sprite can only talk when the other sprite has finished talking. So how can we do that in code? We want to look at that. How can we make our sprite only talk when it's his or her turn to talk? So we look at that, and then we are going to use the looks blocks to write messages in Misora. All right, so before we do that, we first need to log in. So I'm going to unshare this screen. And I will share this one. All right, so we have you open your browser and you open a new tab, and when you at the new tab, you will then click on on mszora.co.za, mszora.co.za. Then you click enter. If you have not logged in yet, I'll log out. You will land on this landing page. You will then click on login. It was going to ask for your username. So now please insert your username on username, and your password will be on password. So when you've done that, it is going to take you to your dashboard. So I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to just log in to make sure everybody has logged in. Okay, I think everybody should have logged in. If you haven't been able to log in, you can please raise your hand. So when you've logged in, you can click on mszora, on Misora blocks. Okay, I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi now. It's going to take some small time. All right, so when we get to Misora block or Misora, we will get to this interface. Is everybody on this interface? And if yes, that is great. I'm just going to give you 10 more seconds just to make sure that everyone has logged in and everybody is on Misora blocks interface. All right, so now that we are here, what we are going to do is just to do a recap of our interface, our scripts. We place all our scripts, we find them, we find our scripts on, or sprites, we find them on here. We can choose sprites down here. We can choose a background on this side, and our sprites, when we have selected them, they will be on our work area here, and we have a scripts area right here where all our scripts or our code, all our algorithms, we will place them here on the scripts area. We then have our code, and it is in different categories, and you can use whichever code you want. And if you wanted to play around at home, you can click on any of the code and just check what happens when you select that code. So how does it work for your sprite? And so you can just play around with all the code that you can see, and you can see how it affects your program. So we call this a scripts area. We have costumes, A sprite can have multiple costumes. This sprite, for instance, has 2 costumes. We also have sounds where you can record your own sound. And I think we are going to use the sound today again. So I'm going to delete the sprite. And as I said, we are going to have a dialogue. So we are going to have 3 different sprites. We are going to tell a story in today's lesson. So we have 2 human sprites. So you can go and select a sprite. Okay. Let me select a sprite. All right, so I don't want this one. Let's choose, I wanted this one. Okay, so now we have 2 sprites and we are going to resize them. Let me make it 80, 70 maybe. And I will also make her 70. No, sorry. I need to change her size. All right, so now we want to make sure or to turn Abby to face Avery, to face the other way. So what we do is that we're going to click on Abby's sprite, select Abby's sprite, we'll go to costumes, and in costumes, we are going to select flip horizontal. So we are going to change her orientation. And let's just make sure that we change all the scripts, all the sprites, all Abby's sprites to make sure that they are facing Avery. So now we have all the sprites facing the same direction. All right, so now that we have these 2 sprites, I'm going to select a dog. There's going to be a dog that is going to be part of today's lesson. So let me search for dog. I'll use this dog. I like this one. Okay, and let's make it 50% of its size. We'll leave the dog right here. And fourthly, we are going to select a background. Let's see, outdoors. I'm going to select a background. Let's take the woods. All right, so we now have 3 sprites. We have a dog, we have 2 humans. And in our story, Abby is afraid of dogs. Avery has a dog called Danger. We called the dog Danger yesterday. So Avery has a dog called Danger. And Avery is a friendly dog, but we know at public parks, if you have a dog, even if it's friendly, you have a leash. So Abby is going to talk to Avery to ask her to put her dog on a leash, and she is going to respond. Well, Avery is going to respond, and that is how their dialogue is going to take place. So the first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to make sure that Abby speaks first. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So is there anyone who is not with us or who has not been able to log in yet? If you have not been able to log in yet, and then I'm going to ask our host to just check if there's anyone who has not been able to log in yet. I'm just going to ask him to check for hands. And if there's anyone who has not been able to log in, if you can please just unmute that person so that he can tell us what his issue is, but we then have to move on. All right. So I suppose everyone is logged in. So now what we're going to do, so let me just move this chat to the side. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to start with Abby. We come to events. The code that we are used to using was when the flag is clicked. So we are going to select that. Sorry, I want Abby. So when the flag is clicked, if we all have that, so when the flag is clicked, what must happen? So the first thing that's going to happen is that when I click the flag, she is going to say something. In this case, let's make her say, Abby, please put your dog on a leash. Okay, so she's going to say, Abby, please put your dog on a leash. And once she said that, what we want her to do is that she must then send this message to this sprite. And for this sprite to understand or to know that something has been said and it is complete, we are going to use what we call a broadcast message. Okay, so we are going to take a broadcast message. Broadcast will be under events. So we come to broadcasts and we will then say, when the flag is clicked, say, Abby, please put your dog on a leash. And she's going to say that for 2 seconds. And she's going to send the message to this sprite. Now you will remember that, or you will know that on this sprite, we still don't have any code. So now when you broadcast, when you send the broadcast with, or broadcast message 1, what happens is that in the background, this broadcast comes and tells your, or whichever sprite is going to receive that message that it is your turn now to talk. So we then come to Avery. And we now need to tell Avery that you have received a message from the first sprite, which is called Abby. So we have, when flag is clicked, we know that is not the case. When the space is clicked, that is not what we want. So we have a code here called when I receive message 1. All right. So when I receive message 1, so let's take that and put it across. So whenever he receives message 1, you will remember message 1 is on Abby. So message 1 has been sent by Abby. Now Avery is receiving message 1. So what then must she do? So when I receive message 1, I will then, as Avery say, don't worry, she does not bite. Okay, I'm sure some of you would have heard that before. Someone has a dog and he says, no, come in, the dog doesn't bite. So that's what is going to happen here. And so when they've done that, we then want the dog to enter the scene. Okay, so the dog is now going to also come. And the dog is going to start barking, you know. So when we now go to the dog. So the dog, when the flag is clicked, when the dog This flag is clicked. He is going to wait first for about 4 seconds for everything to happen before he barks. So he's going to wait for 4 seconds. And we are going to use another loop to control the dog. So the loop we are going to use, if you remember, we find loops in control. The loop that we are going to use, and we said that a loop is a way of repeating code. So we want the code to keep repeating over and over again. So we are going to use a loop called this time repeat until. So we have used forever, and we used repeat 10 times or however many times we said. So now we are going to use a loop that is repeat until. So let me just remove this just in case mistakes happen. So we are going to use repeat until. So our dog is going to come into the scene and is going to come barking in the barking, and it must continue barking until it touches its owner. So we are going to say repeat until you touch every. So we are coming, if you remember, yesterday and the day before, we looked at a code that has to do with touch. So we are going to say, if you are touching, so we go to sensing and we say if touching, or sorry, repeat until you touch every. So you will repeat this, you will repeat whatever is inside the loop until you touch every. So what do we want then now to repeat? We want to repeat the dog. The dog is going to move towards every, and it's going to stop only when it touches every. And while it's moving, it is going to be barking, all right? So what we want to do is to then say the dog must move 10 steps because it is having a movement. So let's test this for now. Let's test if it's going to work. Okay, so now it works. We can see that it works. The dog moves until it touches every. So when it touches every, it stops moving. All right, so if there's any people that have questions, the chat is open. Please ask your questions on the chat. Don't raise your hand because I'm not going to take questions I'm not going to take oral questions for now. I will take oral questions at the end. So if you have a question, please type it on the chat. Thank you. So now the dog is fine. It is able to move. So now what we want is to make sure that we can see its movement so that it's not gliding on the screen. So let's make it move. I'm going to remove this one because we are not going to use it. So we then come and say looks once again, because we want this code called next costume. You would have seen yesterday and Monday, we did next costume to make sure that you can change your costume. So we come and say next costume. Then the last thing we are going to do for the dog and will be done with the dog is to make the dog bark. All right, so we are going to, okay, that doesn't sound like this dog. So we are going to choose a different bark. You come to sounds, you go and select a sound, and you can choose from the categories. We are going to select animals. We want a bark. So let's see. So dog. Okay, this is not the one we want. Okay, now this one sounds a bit more like our danger. Okay, so we are going to use dog 2. and we can delete dog 1. Okay, so now that we have dog 1, we are going to add this, so the dog 2, and we will add it under next costume. So let's say you must wait 5 seconds. Okay. Let's test if it works. Okay, so it works. But here's the problem. Okay, that's a problem. There's no dog that barks like that. So we need a way to get our dog to bark a bit naturally. So what we are going to do is to put a wait block or a timer block. Let's make it, let's see how this one goes. Okay, let's make it a bit faster, 0. By half a second. Okay, so we are done with the dog officially. We can leave that. Okay, then we come back to our characters. In my storyline, our characters are going to move from where they are. They're going to move and they start talking at this place. Okay, now you will see Abby doesn't have moving sprites. So what we are going to use is that we are going to make a glide over there. They are going to go and sit on the chairs or I'll stand next to the chairs there, all right? And what I want you also to take note is their position on the screen. Now you will see here, if you look at Abby, she is at position X, which is 3 minus 3. And if you look at Avery, she is at position X minus 41 and Y minus 13. So take note of those positions. Look at your own screen and take note of what is written on your screen for both of them, because we are going to use that in the following step. Okay, so if we go back and start with Abby. When she has said, when flag is clicked, say, Abby, please put your dog on a leash. Broadcast message 1. I'm going to make her to glide over to this side here. So we come to motion. There's someone who said I must make my dog sound more natural. I wish I could bark, but I can't. So I'm going to say glide. Now, those positions that I said you must take note, we are going to use them here. So glide for, let's make it 4 seconds, glide to, let's say, okay, I have minus 16 for minus 16 for X. I have minus 3 for Y. Okay, so that's what I have on my paper here, on my page here. And so she's going to glide to to this area here. All right, so if we come back to Avery, what I want to now do, she has said her message. Don't worry, the dog doesn't bite. But she has not sent her own message to Abby so that Abby knows that it is her turn to speak. So what we are going to do is that we are going to broadcast that message to Abby. So we are going to send that message as a broadcast. So we send that as a broadcast, but we are going to say broadcast message. Because we already are done with message 1, we are going to say broadcast as a new message. and we are going to say message 2. So we are going to say new message, and we are going to type that as message 2. All right. Okay. So now that we have message 2, she must also glide to her position. She must glide to her own position, and let's make her take about 4 seconds. And her position was minus 14. Okay, that is her position on the screen. So she's going to glide over to her position, and her dog is going to wait for them till they are done. All right. So now we have broadcast message 2 to Abby. We come back to Abby and we say, when I receive message 2, which has been broadcast, what must I do? You will then come back to events, and you will say, when I receive message 2, because that is what has been broadcast by Avery. When I receive message 2, she must also then say, what can she say? We'll make her say, it is your dog. She, or let's say it's a he wouldn't bite you. Okay, so it's your dog. He wouldn't bite you. And we send that as a broadcast also back to Avery. And so you can, I'm sure now by now, you can see the back and forth that is going to happen. And we broadcast this as message 3. So now you see, you really now have to pay attention to what you are doing. You have to know who has said what first, because what has been said has to be received on the other side, and what has been received, that other script must also talk. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to use my natural voice, but I don't know, I'm a guy, so I can't speak like a girl. So now that she has broadcast this message to Avery, I'm going to come back to Avery, but I'm going to respond with my natural voice. All right, thank you. I will go a bit slow. So I'm going to respond with my natural voice to her message. And just to remember, it is message 3 that we are on. Okay, Tando, I've seen your message. Please look at my code and just check if your code looks familiar to, or well, looks like mine, and just make the correct adjustments if it doesn't. Okay. Does your code look anything like mine? Okay, can we move? Okay, what we'll do is that at the end of this session, of course, the recordings will be on YouTube. You can catch them there and you can play them at your pace. Yeah, I'm afraid that we might run out of time while we are waiting. Lisa, I did ask you to unmute yourself.
I'm still not logged in this.
Okay, Lisa, I'm going to ask you to download the video because we are a bit far into the lesson now. I'm going to ask you to check the video on YouTube when it has been uploaded. You can still be part of the lesson for now so that you understand what we are doing and you are part of us. So what I'm going to also do after this lesson, I'm going to record a video and put it up on YouTube on how to register and also how to log in to make sure that you have logged in properly. So please just be with us, just bear with us and try and listen along with us as we go ahead, all right?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so now it's her turn to speak. She has said, it's your dog, she won't bite you. So I'm going to now receive that broadcast, which is message 3. So I come back to this one and I say, when I receive, it's message 3 that I need to receive. Now, because I said I want to record my own voice, all right? I'm going to record my own voice and she is going to respond in my voice. But of course, I don't know how to speak like a girl, and I'm not going to try. So I will take, you see this sound that says play sound. Okay, sorry, not this one. Play start sound pop. So what I'm going to do is to record my own sound. So I'm going to record my own sound. You will then see that when you use this sound block, a dialog box is going to come up asking you to allow your microphone. You then allow your microphone. Then you will then begin to record your sound. So to do that, I'm going to press record. What do I want to record? Okay. Don't worry, Abby. Danger is a very trained dog. I promise you she will or he will not bite you. When you're satisfied with your sound, you can click on stop and you can crop it as you want. To crop is to delete sections that you want. You can play your sound. Don't worry, Abby. Danger is a very trained dog. I promise you she will or he will not bite you. Okay, so if you are happy with the sound, if you are unhappy with the sound, then you can re-record it. If you are happy with it, you can then save the sound, okay? And it's going to come up. You will see it's going to come up here, and you can change how you save it. And I will leave it as recording 1 because that's fine by me. I know which sound is recording 1. And you can change how your sound sounds, how your voice sounds. You can increase the volume, make it louder, you can make it softer, you can mute it, you can even make yourself sound like a robot. So you can do that at home to see what each of these buttons do when you press them. So you can play around when you are at home. So we are satisfied with this sound. So we come back and we then say start sound. We want recording 1. Okay. So we then start sound as recording 1. And finally, we are going to broadcast this as message 4. Okay, we broadcast this as message 4 and it goes over to the other side. All right. So let's see Let me see now if they are all connected. So we all have head blocks. So now let's start our, if you want to maximize your screen, you can click on this icon here, full screen, and let's click and see what happens. Don't worry, Abby. Danger is a very trained dog. I promise you she will or he will not bite you. All right. So you see, everything works. You can then add on to what you want your sprites to do. You can add other features. If you wanted to, you could make them sing. If you wanted to, what we can also do, let's say we want them to appear after they've finished talking on this dialogue. We want a different backdrop to appear. We can also do that. We go to looks, and we can then switch the backdrop when I receive, what was the last message? It was broadcast 4. So when she receives the broadcast 4, when I receive broadcast 4, I want the backdrop. The backdrop must change, let's just say, to the next backdrop, whatever it is. All right. So it would choose, if you have, sorry, let's come here. Okay, if you come to backdrops and you choose a backdrop, let's select outdoors, and let's select bench. Okay, now when this dialogue finishes, if we can start it again, and then let's make sure that it's bench with view. Okay, let's see what happens. Don't worry, Abby. Danger is a very trained dog. I promise you she will or he will not bite you. All right. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of other features that you can do. We are limited by time for this lesson. You can do your own dialogue. You can do your own stories. You can do your own songs. You can choose from different backdrops. I've seen numerous backdrops. If you want to, you can also add your own backdrop to use in your stories, and to just show you how you do that. And I hope I have a picture on my laptop. I hope I do. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, let me just use my daughter's picture, okay, as a backdrop. So now we have her as a backdrop. If you wanted to, you can have another backdrop, one that you have taken with your own camera and uploaded to your laptop. So it's limitless, you know. You can do quite a lot of things. So we have officially come to the end of the lesson for today, and we have about 17 minutes to ask our questions. So if there's anyone that has questions, please ask them now. I said that I would give some time for questions today. So please ask your questions. I'm going to first take Takudzwa before I even do the conclusion. So I'm taking you, Takudzwa. You can unmute yourself. Takuzo, you can speak. You're unmuted. Takuzwa, you can speak. So Takuzwa is not speaking. I'm muting you. Now, there's a question in the chat from Zintle, which says, sir, how can you allow people to interact with the game? All right, good question, Zintle. How can I allow people to interact with the game? So let's go back to our storyline here. And you will see that it says, when I receive message 2, you must do something else. So if, let's say, you wanted then to ask questions and get answers, let's say they didn't know each other, all right? Let's assume they didn't know each other. And let me save this project. What do I save it as? Lesson 3. Okay, I'm going to save it as lesson 3. All right, then let me start a new project. So let me have 2 sprites. Just let's have 2 random sprites. I hope it doesn't sound violent. Okay. So let's say we wanted, let's assume that this is a talking bear. Let's say this is a talking bear, and this talking bear, you want the talking bear to ask this girl what her name is. All right. So what you then would do, let's say, you would say, when this sprite is clicked, so the bear will only talk when I click on it. And when the sprite is clicked, what must it do? It must ask Avery, what is your name? All right. So when you have when it has asked what is your name, this one has asked what is your name, and this one must answer the name and say, my name is Avery. Okay, then this one says, well, let's say, let's take here something else and take, let's take this. Okay, what I'm going to do, Zinhle, you asked a pertinent question. I'm going to go back. I think I did this, we did this in yesterday's lesson, and it seems to have left my head for a bit. I'm very sorry. It seems to have left my head for a bit. And I know that when this sprite is clicked, you must ask, what is your name? All right. Oh, okay. Then let's say, I say, my name is Zinhle. Zinhle. Okay. So yes, sorry, I got it now. So when this sprite is clicked, it's going to ask, what is your name? You say, you write your name. Then the next thing you will do is to say, if your answer, for instance, if the answer that you give here is equal to Zinhle, you must do something else. So if the answer, which is answer here, is equal to, we go equal to, we find it in operators, is equal to, so if answer is equal to zinhle, then what must happen? So if the answer is equals zinhle, you must say what are you doing here? All right, so now let me use a different block. Let me use this block actually, if then else, so that there is an alternative. So if the answer is zinhle, you are going to ask, what are you doing here? Or else, if the answer is not zinhle, I'm going to say, if the answer is not zinhle, let's say I'm going to say that the bear will say, that is not your name. Okay. So let's see what happens. I click on the sprite and I'm going to write Afikile. See, so what happens? That is not your name, because here on the first, on the if, it is waiting for zinhle. So we can either do that, or you can use other head blocks, like when the loudness increases, something must happen to your sprites. You can also look at, as I said, when you click a particular sprite, something must happen. When you click a particular key on your keyboard, something then also must happen. So there's other ways that you can use to interact with your scripts. But the easier way is to ask questions. And if the question is correct, let's say zinhle, then you see that because the question is correct, that the answer is correct, the bear asks, what are you doing here? You can also make her talk back let's say it's his turn, and then you come here and you make her talk back only when you click on her. So that is how, zinhle, we can make our scripts or our sprites interact with each other. Thank you for your question. And then Takudzwa, we are going to come back to you, and I'm going to give you one last chance. Takudzwa, you are unmuted. Takudzwa, you are unmuted. Takudzwa, please type your question. I think there's an issue with your microphone. I don't think your microphone works. So please type your message. Thank you. Any question? Any other question? Okay, so no more questions. Yes, Joshua. Joshua, you can unmute yourself.
Sir, how do we make it a multi-choice question?
How do we Okay, how do we make a multiple choice question? All right, so good question, Joshua. What we would do to make a multiple choice question, this is going to be part of tomorrow's lesson, but I will answer you. You will see that we have this block that we had here, that equals sign, right? And which is called an operator. There are other operators that are available to us. We have these three operators actually, and, or, and or. So we have an and an or, and not. Okay, that is a tongue twister. So we are going to use these two to see what happens. So we have a question here. What is your name? And we are going to first look at how to use an and. So an and has has more than one condition. So there must always be two or more answers, all right? And for instance, what is your name? Your name is, okay, what is your full name? What is your name and surname? You are Joshua Mini, if I hope I said that correct. So what I would do is that if, for instance, you have, I ask you, what is your name? You say, I'm Joshua Mini. And both conditions have to be true for the code to work. If when I ask you, what is your name? And you say, my name is Joshua Sikwebo, the conditions are not both true. Your name is Joshua, that is correct, but your surname is not Sikwebo, that is not correct. So it is not going to come in and do that code. It is going to go to the else part and say that is not your name, because your name is Joshua Mini, all right? And or, on the other hand, is the one condition must be true. So you have your name is Joshua Mini, and I come to you and I say, what is your name? And you say, my name is Joshua Sikwebo. What the code is going to do, because we said or, it is going to find that there is Joshua in my answer. And because it has found something that is true, it is going to assume that the conditions have been met, and it is going to execute that code. So what I'm going to do for us is that I'm going to create a multiple choice short game or short exercise for tomorrow, and I will show it to you guys. Thank you for your question, Joshua, and I hope I've answered you a bit. If I haven't, I'm going to answer it in a short exercise with you guys tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Any question further? Anyone else with a question or a comment? Any question, or someone who says, I have a comment to make? Someone who says, I didn't understand? Someone who says, I was bored or I had fun? Anything? All right, I assume that everybody is happy, and the questions that we had were answered. Okay, so today we learned just two things. We learned how to use the broadcast block to send messages to different sprites in order to do a dialogue. So I think as you practice at home, you will get the hang of it. I know that it was it seemed to be a bit technical today, but I hope that you are going to have time to practice at home. And as you practice some more, you are going to be able to understand what is going on. And remember what I said about yesterday, about tomorrow, or even after this session, you can write me an email if there's anything that you would want us to do on Friday. If you say you have an idea of a game or an idea of an activity, we can do that. And what I also would like us to do is to do our own projects at home, and we can perhaps try and share our screens so that we can see what you guys have been able to do. Once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope you will have a lovely day further. Goodbye.